Well, it was thought delegates at the G20 might have spent time considering what to do next about the crisis on the Korean Peninsula, with the rhetoric ramping up between the North and the US.
The era of strategic patience with the North Korean regime has failed. Many years, and it's failed. And frankly, that patience is over.
I give the highest honor to our respected great leader, Kim Jong-un, who made our country a powerful nuclear giant, having the most powerful intercontinental ballistic missile.
The United States is prepared to use the full range of our capabilities to defend ourselves and our allies. One of our capabilities lies with our considerable military forces. We will use them if we must.
Our respected leader, Kim Jong-un, said that the U.S. would be unhappy to witness North Korea's strategic power on its Independence Day and called for frequently sending big and small gift packages.
Well, when it comes to nuclear arms, North Korea and the US are far from equally matched. Pyongyang still doesn't have any missiles capable of sending warheads over considerable distances. The furthest they've ever managed is 930 kilometers, which is nowhere near the range of US warheads. So will the threats ever really amount to anything? We put that to Gregory Elick from the Korea Policy Institute.
Oh, I think it's a great deal exaggerated. First of all, the Hwasong-14 missile that it recently launched, there's some question whether or not that's even an ICBM. So Russian monitoring equipment had a very different result than what we're hearing United States officials are saying about the capability of the missile. So Russian officials are saying it's actually an intermediate missile. But even if you take the U.S. Position that it's an ICBM and then the range is only capable of hitting Alaska, and that's with apparently most likely an empty warhead. If you add the weight needed for a nuclear weapon, that would reduce the range further. But this is only a single test. Any kind of operational nuclear weapons program would require years of testing and multiple tests. The United States has nearly 7,000 nuclear warheads. North Korea, right now, probably no more than 10. It would be suicidal for North Korea to launch a nuclear first strike. North Korea is quite explicit about the purpose of its program. It's a nuclear deterrent. Its intent is to ward off attack from the United States. There's a bit of a double standard here in that Washington has never complained about India, Israel, or Pakistan's ballistic missile testing. In fact, India conducted a ballistic missile test earlier this year, as did Pakistan. But only North Korea is singled out with UN sanctions forbidding it from doing ballistic missile testing. And I think the gist of Washington's concern is that it has friendly relations with other nations, whereas it has quite hostile relations with North Korea. The more Washington threatens North Korea or comes out with harsh rhetoric, the more it actually convinces North Korea of the need for a nuclear weapons program. The United States regularly conducts joint military exercises with South Korea. I think the last one involved more than 300,000 troops and ships and airplanes. And they're practicing the bombing and invasion of North Korea. And they also have commando exercises that practice what they call decapitation strikes, which in other words is the assassination of North Korean officials. But you can imagine if the reverse were true. Just imagine, say, if Russia were conducting joint exercises with Cuba, practicing the bombing of the United States and the invasion of the United States, and practicing commando operations to assassinate U.S. officials. The reaction of the United States would be utterly hysterical. But when the United States does the same thing against North Korea, it's seen as just normal or everyday business, no reason for North Korea to be concerned.
Well, the United States' latest joint military drills with South Korea included missiles being fired into the Sea of Japan. 2 B-1 strategic bombers also carried out live fire tests on a training range on the Korean Peninsula. Fighter jets from South Korea and Japan also joined in, which, according to the US, was to demonstrate the commitment to defending allies. Well, the US has also conducted an intercept test in which a mock warhead was successfully destroyed. But that test cost American taxpayers almost $250 million. Another is planned in 2 months' time. We asked political commentator Lou Rockwell whether there might be other reasons the US is stepping up its efforts against North Korea.
Well, there's a lot of money at stake. Billions and billions and billions of dollars in new military contracts. The U.S., of course, also wants to continue to justify its occupation of South Korea, its occupation of Japan, its occupation of Guam, the presence of the 7th Fleet right up against China's shores. That's what's going on. So, of course, North Korea is, like any communist country, very poor. They're a very poor country, and they've poured. I'm sure they've. I'm sure they poured vast resources that should have gone into people's lives and bellies and homes and so forth into this horrible military business. It's because they're terrified of being attacked.